I'm going to be doing a little rundown through what would happen if you took a Battle Sister deck using the V series cards and applied them to Premium. Just a bit more of a sort of way for beginners, maybe they haven't played Premium before, to be able to adapt their standard decks. So we'll start off with the V series starter, Solamine and Uzume. Then we've got 4 copies of Battle Sister Fromage, the main ride, that lets you draw 2 cards, and has a free ability, well, free in terms of Counterblast, but you have to discard to use it, which helps you stack your deck. Then we've got a tech of Battle Sister Praline. This is more of a filler slot. It's okay. You can target it with Battle Sister Choquette. There's a few other lines of plays you could do, like for example Battle Sister Panettone. You could stack this on top of your deck using that, and then use Battle Sister Stolen to soul charge it. Another use for it is if you do happen to draw it and you've got Battle Sister Bamakuchin, then you could also reveal it and search for Fromage from your deck. But if you ever drew this without having Fromage in your hand and you're trying to run to grade 3, then that's kind of a reason not to play it potentially. You could always play something else like a Battle Sister Macaron or something. Next we've got 4 of the main finisher card, Battle Sister Trifle, Sentinel Restrict, and also a good Vanguard / Rearguard skill that lets you call a Battle Sister from the top 3 of your deck and then stack the rest on top. Very good multi-purpose card. But the awkward thing about this card is in this deck list, at the moment with what we've currently got, you can't really use this on turn 3. That may require either playing cards like Whitehair for Inaba, maybe playing more grade 3s if you want to get around that. Or you could always just wait until D series comes out and play Refluke, or it might be out already actually. Well, definitely probably will be when this is up. Then we've got Battle Sister Sable. Quite a handy card from the G era. Lets you draw 1 card if you have 3 other units with Battle Sister in the name, including the Vanguard as well, by the way. Just be careful when you're Soul Blasting. Make sure to get rid of your starter when you're Soul Blasting with the other cards, and reserve a Battle Sister in your Soul, because her condition requires Soul Blasting a Battle specifically. Then we play 4 copies of Battle Sister Choquette. So this is quite useful for a few things. If you do play Goddess of Sun Amaterasu, you could always use it as well to bind again, taking a crit, but this is a pure Battle Sister take that I'm doing today. Useful as well if you're looking for Battle Sister Fromage. It sort of saves you from having to do G-assist sometimes. If not, the thing is you don't have to shuffle the cards back into your deck. You stack them to the bottom of your deck. So even if you failed the first time, when you do get around to G-assisting in the unlikely event, then you've gone through 10 cards in total, or 11 if you include draw phase, 12 with drive check in your prior turn. Then you've got 4 Battle Sister Bamakuchin. So this is a stride assist. Basically you can reveal any grade 3 in your hand, and then you search your deck for a Battle Sister grade 3 and add it to your hand. So that's useful if you want to search out Fromage by revealing Praline, which is pretty situational obviously with this grade 3 lineup. Or you can always just use it to get another Fromage. But more importantly, it's good for striding as well, and it's another Battle Sister name in your deck, which is one of the most important things, and why this whole deck is built around just being pure Battle Sister. There are multiple different ways of building Battle Sister though. This is just one version. It's more ideal, I think, for anyone that's looking to get into Battle Sisters as a starting point, or anyone that wants to stick with the theme as well. So here we've got 4 copies of Battle Sister Torijas. Very good card that lets you add the top card of your deck to your hand if it's a Battle Sister. You don't actually have to add it to your hand if you don't want to. And then it gains 5k if you've seen the top card of your deck during that turn as well. So pretty useful. Remember, it's a once a turn, but in total, so it's a hard once per turn. You can't use a second copy of this card in the same turn. But it gets you free advantage, and that's really handy. Next, we've got 4 copies of Battle Sister Panettone. Helps you stack your deck, gain more power when you do your drive checks, and get your triggers. So handy for that, and also it soul charges. The soul can be useful. This does do a lot of soul blasting, so having access to a soul charger can help. And then we've got also 4 Battle Sister Marmalade. You do need a second copy from the drop zone to be able to use the draw ability at the end of guarding. That is quite likely though, since it's OTT, you do kind of cycle through quite a few cards. So there is a fair chance of it happening. Another thing as well is if you ride this card and you do have another Battle Sister Marmalade in your hand later on, what you could always do is you could Soul Blast it using something like Battle Sister Sable or Choquette during the early game, and then you can also already set up your Perfect Guard draw play. And then we'll go on to triggers. So with the triggers, we play 4 copies of Psychic Bird. This is the non-Battle Sister card of the deck. It's just too good. If you ever get bad hand, you can always just try again, draw into another card. And it also builds Soul, which is handy. Then you've got 4 Battle Sister Muffins. Helps you to countercharge. Battle Sister in its name as well. Gives power. Then you've got 4 copies of Battle Sister Ginger and Vanilla. So this is your V trigger. And then you got another V trigger in the heel trigger, Brioche. And then we move on to G zone. Let's start with the G Guardians. You could play, if you wanted to, you could try playing Dismal. You could play Amaterasu's, or you could play Battle Sister Bavrois. There are other G guards as well. You could always try out something like Lozenge Maker's Apex. That's quite a good one as well to consider. Some of the G units I'd recommend, potentially. Ultima. That one's not too bad. Every United Sanctuary deck usually plays it. Then there is going to be something interesting though. I think Ultima will become a staple soon once the over trigger gets added in. Then you've got the 2 copies of Sterling Witch Momo. Very good with Fromage. When you ride Fromage, you draw 2 cards. If you have an extra Counterblast, you can always use those extra cards you've gained as a discard cost. So you get a pretty decent first stride alternative to Stolen. But Stolen's also really good as well. But Momo is mainly a finisher, so try to be a bit careful when you're using that card. You are losing hand advantage when you play it. 4 copies of Ichikishima, which is very good. But because of this certain build, this isn't designed to use on first stride. There is another type of Battle Sister deck you could play if you want to use Ichikishima as a first stride. But again, this profile is mainly just for the pure Battle Sister, sort of as a way to get into premium. Obviously, you can then figure out what you think is best later on. 2 copies of Battle Sister Stolen. Very handy if you want to stack a deck. It's similar to Battle Sister Fromage. The main difference is that this can soul charge. It counterblasts instead of discarding, and its requirements are based on having rear guards with Battle Sister in the name rather than different Battle Sisters in total in your field. So it doesn't include the Vanguard. We've got a few more Battle Sister strides as well. Gelato's kind of free, Soul Blast 1. So if you ever can't do anything, you can always go into Gelato. And then you've got Battle Sister Moroi as well, which is a pretty alright card as well. Always an option. And that's about it. Alright, I hope that helps. Maybe I'll do some more Battle Sister videos, other takes, as well as a few other deck profiles. But yeah, I'll keep an eye on the new D-Series cards. There are some really insane plays you can actually do with some D-Series cards. Another thing you could always look into as well is the Tempest Sphere vanilla package. You can always play stuff like Battle Sister Orange Jet and the likes if you wanted to go for that route. That one's pretty good. Just be careful though with gaining Counterblast. I think it's a bit easy to counterplay against the vanilla deck if you're riding higher base powers. Hope that helps with getting you into premium. Alright, take care, bye.